Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. An FBI supervisor confirmed IRS whistleblowers' charges that the Department of Justice slow-walked the prosecution of President Biden's son Hunter, and that U.S. attorneys appointed by the president refused to bring charges against his son. A Washington Post ABC poll found that former President Donald Trump holds a 10-point lead over President Biden, reflecting voters' frustration with the economy and immigration, and concerns about Biden's age and mental state. Democrat Senator Robert Menendez doesn't seem embarrassed by his indictment Friday for corruption. In fact, Menendez is expected to announce Monday that he will run for re-election. And a major GOP donor has demanded a refund from Louisiana Republican gubernatorial candidate Jeff Landry after Landry hired Trump fixer Corey Lewandowski, who hit on the donor's wife 2 years ago. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Stinchfield. I hate to start out a Monday like this, but I am absolutely disgusted with our government. I'm totally done with them. And that goes for many Republicans who are in office in our federal government system. We now face a budget battle of monstrous proportions and the prospect of a government shutdown. What do you think Congress did today to avert that? How about a big goose egg? How about zero? How about nothing? So we know that there are these 12 appropriations bills that strong conservatives would like voted on individually so we can give an up or down vote to single spending issue bills. Makes total common sense. This hasn't been done in Washington for decades. It is how business should be done. McCarthy promised he'd do this. Well, we were told last week there are 4 of those bills he'll try to push through. Today is the 25th of September. This budget battle will continue till the 30th, when apparently we run out of money. They don't put anything up today. They can't take one of these bills and put it up. To me, that is the real travesty. That I believe they want the clock to run out. And I believe McCarthy wants to be up against the wall and the clock running out because, you know who benefits from all of this? The lobbyists do. Here's Kevin McCarthy today.
Well, you have to keep the government open. I mean, if people want to close the government, it only makes them weaker. Why would they want to stop paying the troops or stop paying the border agents or the Coast Guard? I don't understand how that makes you stronger. I don't understand what point you're trying to make. We've got a border that's wide open today. We say it's getting worse each month under Joe Biden. We've got now border agents you saw this morning being bloodied. Why would you want to stop paying those individuals? I couldn't understand somebody that would want to do that.
No. See, this is what kills me. Kevin McCarthy, you're really on thin ice right now, and I told you I would give you a little leeway. Nobody wants to shut down the government. There's not one Republican in office right now that wants to shut down the government. What we're saying is we have to use a government shutdown as a bargaining chip against the Democrats. Use it as leverage because nobody wants to shut down the government. And stop with the nonsense about the troops. We know that we could pass bills if we wanted to that could partially fund this government, send it to the Senate, let the Democrats who control the Senate then tell everyone no. Wouldn't that be a novel idea? Instead, Kevin McCarthy's letting the media pile on Republicans. Oh, look at the craziness. They're going to shut the government down. He's going around it all wrong. I'm telling you, the lobbyists are the ones that love this up against the wall, push through a single bill to fund the entire government because then the lobbyist clients get everything they want. And who funds the campaigns of most incumbents in Washington? Lobbyists do. Lobbyists fund the campaigns of incumbents. So this is what's at play here. Yesterday, I watched our friend Matt Gaetz go head-to-head with Maria Bartiromo on Fox. Now, Maria Bartiromo is someone I have absolute respect for. This is a woman who, even in the face of Fox wanting to stay away from election integrity issues, she took it on. I like Maria a lot, but I believe she's wrong on this issue. She had the vitriol, I believe, towards Matt Gaetz, who says, listen, we've got to get back to the basics. So I want to go through some of this interview and play it for you because it was a very important interview to see the difference between the corporate media and the Washington establishment versus real conservatives like Matt Gaetz, who simply want to represent the people and get back to the business of congressional order and common sense. Roll the first clip.
So tell me why you are threatening Speaker McCarthy and trying to shut down this government at a time that the Republicans have finally gotten some upper hands here in terms of wins, able to investigate President Biden on what looks like bribery.
Yeah, we don't put our pencils down in the investigation of President Biden during a shutdown, so the premise is false. Second, if Kevin McCarthy was actually serious about pursuing the Bidens, he would have sent Hunter Biden a subpoena by now. That's how you know this is sort of failure theater that you're observing.
So Matt Gaetz is correct. There's no indication that Congress has to shut down during a government shutdown. In fact, just the opposite. Congressional staff members will work without getting a paycheck, and they will get all of their back pay once a budget is passed. Why would the Biden inquiry stop? Why would the Hunter Biden investigation stop? They don't. But this is a talking point of Republicans. The other main talking point is, the troops aren't going to get paid. And even Stars and Stripes newspaper said that is not even a given, depending on how much money is actually left in the coffers of the United States government. So Maria, to me, was somewhat disappointing because of the respect that I have for her. She took on the establishment's talking points during this interview.
Well, how about the fact that he has set up a weaponization committee to investigate the DOJ, whether they're involved in a cover-up?
That's
how about
process.
the fact that he has hold on? How about the fact that he hold on? How about the fact that he has set up the China Select Committee to keep China to account? And of course, he has launched this inquiry into impeachment potentially for President Biden. Is that not what you want?
None of those things are deliverables.
No, so what Matt Gaetz went on to say there is that they're not deliverables because nothing's coming out of it. So yes, you have investigations, and that's great, and you can bring the witnesses in, and you can question them, and everybody can run through their political theater, and in the end, what has happened? Nothing. Hunter Biden hasn't been subpoenaed. We haven't heard him take the fifth in front of the American people. Talk about the China Select Committee. China is still waging an economic war on the United States. They're still stealing our secrets. What's the deliverable from that? Yes, it's good we have all of these committees running and investigations underway, but there's been no benefit to the American people other than information, which of course is a positive, but actually stopping the bad behavior of the Bidens, of the Russians, of the Chinese. That's not happening. So this is why I believe Maria Bartiromo always liked McCarthy. For whatever reason, she, like so many in the media, back him up.
We would not know anything that we know about the Biden family. 176 suspicious activity reports, 20 shell companies set up while he was vice president, the whistleblower testimony. We would not know any of this if not for those committees that he set up exposing all of this. We just heard from Merrick Garland last week.
But you have to follow that to its natural conclusion. It's not enough to expose facts that get people angry and animated. You then have to follow those facts to a conclusion and to accountability. You see, that's what Republicans are bad at.
Republicans are horrible in messaging. Okay? You have James Comer come out with poorly produced charts and graphics, and he holds a 2-hour news conference that completely glasses over the eyes of the American people. You need to come out very quick, boom, 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 hammer the American people over the head with your facts in a very fast and quick and to-the-point fashion, and get to it. Republicans are horrible at this. Matt Gaetz knows it. I know it. All of you know it. Which is why, there ought to be more people like that we have on this program running communications for the Republican Party. We're trying the best that we can, but we can't do it all for them. So Then Maria has the audacity to try to blame Matt Gaetz of actually working with Democrats, which couldn't be further from the truth.
Are you not right now indirectly working with Democrats because you are going to allow Chuck Schumer to come up with a continuing resolution next week to fund the government? That's what your actions are doing. That's why some people feel this is a personal vendetta you have against the speaker.
No, my vendetta is against a Washington system that allows corruption to put the interests of lobbyists and PACs above the interests of the American people. Kevin McCarthy facilitates that system, and I do deeply resent that. But I'm not working with Chuck Schumer or any other Democrat. I am the one working with House conservatives to require single-subject spending bills. No. You guys criticize me for forcing single-subject spending bills. Then you give Kevin McCarthy the credit for doing it.
Kevin McCarthy would not be anywhere, and even close to where we want him, if it wasn't for Matt Gaetz and the other conservatives in Congress that forced his hand during the speaker's race. Now, he has not lived up to his promises at all. You know, the Department of Homeland Security bill had been passed out of appropriations in June. Why hasn't that then been taken up before October 25th, and we still don't have it? Again, Congress did nothing today to move the ball down the field when it comes to keeping the government open. All of the important parts of the government could be funded with single spending bills. There's 12 of them up. Yet for some reason, another guy who I absolutely love. You know, this is one of my favorite radio hosts, and in many respects, I've modeled much of what I do on the radio after Mark Levin. He's a fabulous, fabulous mind and even an entertainer, and you got to be both in order to capture the hearts and minds of the American people. But he's wrong on this issue. He's mad at the 5 Republicans that are standing in the way of a budget deal that really continues to fund Ukraine and doesn't get back to the order of business as we want to see it in Congress. This was Mark Levin on Fox over the weekend.
You were also told as part of that deal, we're going to move resources to secure that damn border that's killing this country. Except we're not going to cut from the military and the vets. This is the best we can do in the next 2 weeks. And you're told these guys are selling out? Oh, no, we need 12 bills. Let me tell you a little secret, Maria.
Yeah.
The American people don't know 12 bills from 12,000 bills.
That's right.
They want that budget cut. They want that border secured. I do too. They want our Department of Defense to be able to defend us, and we want our vets taken care of.
Here's the problem, what Mark Levin failed to even mention, and Maria Bartiromo didn't bring it up. Ukraine is involved in all of this, and the funding of Ukraine is involved in all of this. Mark Levin supports sending money over there. I don't. That's okay. We can disagree on those things. But he didn't bring it up. I want the Department of Defense to be able to defend us, but according to our illustrious commander-in-chief, we're out of ammunition. How does that happen? Because we are broke. America is broke, and Ukraine is part of that reason as to why we are broke. So when he says America doesn't care about 12 bills, much less 12,000 bills, it's our job as talk show hosts. It's my job. It's Mark Levin's job. It's Sean Hannity's job. It's Dan Bongino's job. It's Charlie Kirk's job to get the message out to the American people about how important single spending issue bills is. It's up to us to make the American people care because they maybe don't know about it. Once they realize, hey, yeah, I'd rather have an up or down vote on single issue spending bills than a one up or down vote on a massive behemoth of a bill where Lord knows where the money's going, anybody with common sense would say that's a better way of doing business. We can disagree. I'm going to be with Mark Levin out in California on Sunday. We're going to be on the same stage together at our town hall that we're doing with Salem Media. And if you're in California, come see us on Sunday at Universal Hilton out there. It should be great because I love getting together with Mark, and Charlie Kirk from this network is going to be there as well. Officer Tatum, we're going to have a blast. Well, joining me now is the founder of the Western Journal, as well as the founder of Citizens United. He's also the author of the book Counterpunch, an unlikely alliance of Americans fighting back for faith. Floyd Brown is back with us. Floyd, welcome back to the show.
Great to be with you. And, you know, you are so correct in your analysis of what's going on in Washington, D.C. I had a chance to listen to your monologue. And the truth is that we have a cancer in Washington, D.C. when it comes to spending. For so many years, it's probably decades now, they haven't worked the process properly. And in the end, the American people end up paying with higher inflation and economic problems. And the truth is that, our budget's now out of balance by a couple of $1 trillion. We're done talking about billions. We're now losing trillions of dollars every year. And until we get this under control, America's situation isn't going to be fixed. We're going to continue to have this inflation, which is literally robbing from every single family in the country.
Why do you think it is that Republicans run so scared of this issue of a government shutdown? It's very easy to put this on the Democrats. I would think this Republican-controlled House could pass bills that would be in the best interest of America. Let the Democrats turn it down in the Senate. Why are they so afraid of this idea that the government might shut down?
Because their funders don't want to see the kind of cuts that the voters want to see. You see, when you talk about the uniparty, which is something I did a lot in my book, Counterpunch, what you realize is that Congress is much more beholden to K Street and the lobbyists and the PACs and the different special interests that are in Washington, D.C. than they are to the voters that live in their districts. And that's the fundamental root of the problem. So when you have someone like a Speaker McCarthy, he is beholden to these lobbyists. And so, for example, the prime example is that Homeland Security bill that he has been sitting on since June and hasn't brought to the floor for a vote. Now, we could have passed that bill. That bill could have included a border wall. The one tool, the single tool that the Republican Congress has is the power of the purse. And yet, Speaker McCarthy doesn't want to use it.
Yeah. We have an election coming up, I don't know, a year and a half from now, I guess. So almost coming close to a year away now. Americans, and I'd like your experience from this as being with the Western Journal for as long as you have covering these issues. I think Americans have very short memories as well. I don't think this budget fight today has any effect on the election down the road.
It has zero impact. It's really a fight inside of D.C. And the only way it could have impact is if, in fact, some of these special interests that get so much money out of government were upset enough about it to really get engaged in congressional races. But, fundamentally, the problem that we have with the budget is the elites have learned how to use the federal budget to benefit themselves. And so, Ukraine really, yes, it's about Ukraine, but it's also about all of those military industrial contractors that are building and making the armaments and the munitions that we're sending over there. And, when you looked at COVID policy, one of the reasons that we got the policy that we got, where we suppressed therapeutics and instead, invested in vaccines, it was because vaccines make a lot of money for a lot of people. There were 40 new billionaires minted by that policy. So in the budget, you've got this cancer that's got to be rooted out. And the only ones that will ever do it are the Republicans, and the speaker is being held accountable by these, whatever they're called, renegades. I call them heroes. I call them the people that really care about America, that want to get our ship righted. And so I think it's great. They're forcing this Congress to do its own job.
Yeah. And it is about time, and they deserve our backup on this because they're taking great heat from both the mainstream media and Republicans inside their own party are really acting in many respects like Democrats when it comes to this fight. Floyd Brown with the Western Journal, it's always great seeing you. Thank you for coming on tonight.
Great to be with you.
All right, I appreciate it. All right, folks, coming up, Joe Biden couldn't make security at the border if he tried. Can't happen. So is he trying? No, he's not trying. That's next. I'll tell you what, folks, I feel for everyone on the border. That goes for the illegals coming in. It goes for the people who live on the border. It goes for Border Patrol. Crisis is an understatement. The border is a disaster right now. But it's a disaster because of Joe Biden and the policies that the Democrats are insisting on, which is a complete open border, leaving our southern border controlled by the cartels. Yet Jim Acosta of CNN somehow says this to our friend Congressman Norman.
Have you been to the border?
Of course I have.
Have you seen what's going on? The rapes, it's open. I mean, nobody can deny that.
The border is,
and they've got it's a crisis. Where?
I'll ask the question, sir. And the border is not open. That is something that is peddled as a talking point, but it's not true. There are fences, there are walls, there are Border Patrol agents who work on the border.
So that's an absolute flat-out lie. We know that all Border Patrol agents have been pulled off of the line to focus solely on processing now over about 500 miles between Texas and Arizona. Okay? That's a lie. He says there are walls. There are not walls everywhere. Joe Biden stopped building many of these walls. It is a sieve, the border. In fact, I wouldn't even say it's a sieve. We've shown you video before. The door's wide open. Then I saw these pictures. To say it's not a crisis, I don't know what you would. This is from the New York Post. These pictures are what we describe as agony at the border. That's the headline in the New York Post. Young kids trying to crawl through barbed wire, bleeding, trying to get through. And who were they brought there by? Of course, the cartels. You want to tell me we don't have a crisis going on? We have a crisis, and no one's stopping them. So there's no Border Patrol agents to say, hey, no, you can't come through here, go back. They're welcoming them to crawl through the barbed wire. Ted Cruz summed it up this way.
This crisis was caused by three specific decisions. Number one, it was caused the first week in office, Biden immediately halted construction of the border wall. Number two, he reinstated the failed policy of catch and release so that when people are apprehended, they're given a court date. Sometime in the future, they're let go, and the vast majority of them are never seen again. And number three, he pulled out of the incredibly successful Remain in Mexico agreement.
Everything is spot on there. So what do you do to fix the problem right now? If you had a commander-in-chief, you could wage war on the cartels. Now, for those of you that watch this program, listen to my radio show, and follow me on social media, Stinchfield 1776, you know that probably for the last 2 months, I've been calling for the United States government to declare war on the cartels and then wage war on the cartels, as in military operations. You want to know the power of Stinchfield's army? From us using that idea on this program to all of you taking it and spreading it far and wide, we finally have people in positions of power talking about waging war on the cartels. Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Our country is under attack, and who is leading the attack, Charlie, is the Mexican cartel. I am currently drafting a declaration of war against the Mexican cartels. And I'd like to challenge anyone in Washington that beats the drums of war and beats their chest about fighting Russia to wake up and realize the oath of office they took is to the United States and the American people and to defend our borders.
Folks, that's someone who has the ear of Kevin McCarthy. She's a powerful congresswoman. She's now drafting a declaration of war against the cartels. Take that as a feather in your cap, because we started this call early on. You know who else has picked up this idea? The big guy. Not the big guy, Joe Biden, the real big guy. Watch.
The drug cartels are waging war in America, and it's now time for America to wage war on the cartels. In this war, Joe Biden has sided against the United States and with the cartels. They are making more money than they've ever made before, times 10. When I am president, it will be the policy of the United States to take down the cartels, just as we took down ISIS and the ISIS caliphate, and just as, unlike the situation we're in today, we had a very, very strong border.
You know how happy this makes me? It means our message is working. It means what we do on this program actually has meat to it, has teeth to it. We get action done here. We now have very powerful people talking about waging war on the cartels, something you and I have been talking about on this program for the last 2 months, at least. This is what we get now from the Biden administration instead. We get proposed identification cards. Check this out. They want these identification cards for illegal aliens coming in for what? Now they're going to get social services. In some states they do, like California. It's going to allow them to vote soon in the United States. I'm sure the Democrats would love that. Proposed ID cards for people that are here illegally. The only ID card they need is an expulsion card to move them back to the other side of the border wall that should be there. Well, joining me now, Real America's Voice correspondent and host of the Rumble Show Border Wars, our friend Anthony Aguero is back with us. Anthony, welcome to the program. I understand, again, my man, as you always do, you bring us eye-opening video of what you find on the border down there. Why don't you tell me about what you found and show me the video and tell me about it.
So Saturday night out in Lukeville, Arizona. Thank you for having me, by the way. Saturday night
Absolutely.
out in Lukeville, Arizona. I was out there documenting, and as you can see here on the screen, this gentleman here in the green shirt began groping on this little girl that was probably not any year older than 5 or 6 years old, in which he began pressing up against her, making really weird movements with her, but he was totally just feeling her up and down. I'm glad the network was able to blur that out, because it is pretty disturbing to watch a grown man doing what he was doing to that young child. I thought I was in total shock for a few minutes. I thought I was imagining things, and so I put the flashlight on it, and I got a much closer view. And this guy had not a care in the world, didn't seem to faze him at all whatsoever. As he began getting closer to the van, mind you, this is the only individual, the only grown male with a little girl on that line. Everybody else is family units or women or women with kids. He was the only male that was out there with a child. And right here, he begins groping on the child's chest, and he pulls her up close, up against his groin, begins really just rubbing himself on the child, to the point that I had to call law enforcement. I called Border Patrol over, in which time they came over, and they began asking him, who is this child? The male began getting really, really nervous. He said that it was his child, and they asked, where is the mom? He then said he had just been divorced. The Border Patrol then asked, okay, show me the documentation of your divorce. Show me your divorce decree or any documentation that ties you to this child. He could not. He then pulled out a printed out, and it was nothing. It was nothing official. It was just a printed out piece of paper very generic, by the way. It was a printed out piece of paper where somebody actually penciled in the child's name on there. Border Patrol then completely separated them. The child was in a shock-like state. She did not know her name. She did not know where she was coming from. She did not know where she was going. Border Patrol then put both of them, separated them, and put them in a van. Luckily, law enforcement reached out to me a little bit after that altercation or that moment, and I was able to provide them with everything that you guys are seeing here on the screen. And it looks like they are proceeding with a criminal investigation, because this is it's unbelievable that this is happening to children like that.
Anthony, have they separated that child from that man?
Yes, they separated the child from that man.
All right. Now the trick
As a matter
is
of
finding
fact,
out whose child is it.
Yes, and so the child apparently he claimed that the child was from Guatemala, where we know that at least 47% of the unaccompanied children are coming in from there. As of September 3rd of earlier this year, we had in custody right under 12,000 unaccompanied children. Now, that was September 3rd. That was before this massive surge of people that are now coming through our borders, where we're seeing 40,000 plus people in one single day across the southern border. Out there in Lukeville, in 24 hours, they had over 1,500 people. I know out there in Eagle Pass, they had over 4,000. And in the mix of all of that, we have tons of unaccompanied children, and we have children that are being trafficked by single males who are just trying to use them as a meal ticket to gain access into the country much easier.
You know, as you've proven many times before, it's working, sadly. I'm so grateful you got law enforcement to step in here. Let's pray for that little girl, that she's okay, can be reconnected with her family, whoever that may be, and justice is served here. But all of this is a result of these open borders, of the encouragement to come here on behalf of the Biden administration. And sadly, the Border Patrol is handcuffed. They can't do much to stop any of it. But Anthony Aguero, I believe you're doing just as much to help stop it by raising awareness to it. And even that little part is worth something. So thank you, my friend. And I mean that sincerely.
I appreciate you. Have a great night.
Absolutely. Make sure you follow him on Twitter. He's doing really great work. Anthony Aguero, he is. All right, folks, listen to me. I want you to protect yourself with gold today by texting America to the number 989898. Our friends over at Birch Gold can help you with this. So many of our Real America's Voice users are reusing Birch Gold. The reviews are great. We trust them. They've had great success in starting to diversify their portfolio and using gold as a privacy mechanism as well. So again, here's how you get in touch with Birch Gold. Text America to the number 989898. They will get back in touch with you and start the process of protecting your finances as only precious metals can. Stood the test of time when it comes to this stuff, precious metals has. So again, my friends at Birch Gold are willing to help. They can do it. America, that's what I want you to text to the number 989898. All right, a new poll from ABC and the Washington Post shows President Trump up 10 points on Joe Biden. Guess what? The media can't believe it. Even the Washington Post, who did the poll, wait till you hear what they say about their own poll. Folks, I want to show you a new Washington Post ABC poll that literally has Democrats flipping out. It is so fun to watch them talk about this poll that has President Trump up by 10 points in a head-to-head matchup with Joe Biden, 52 to 42%. Among independents, he's leading 52 to 39%. That is a very important group. Now, in the Washington Post's own story about this, they literally called this poll an outlier. It's their poll. What do you mean an outlier? Did you not do a good job? Was it's somehow skewed? This is the first poll that I've seen that I actually believe more closely resembles where the American people stand today. There's another poll out, same poll, ABC Washington Post, showing Joe Biden's job approval rating, okay, is only 37%. On the economy, his rating is at 30%. Border at 23%. This is amongst all voters. So that should tell you that even Democrats understand the border is falling apart. This is Joe Biden's campaign co-chair, Senator Chris Coons.
Right now, the polls head-to-head are more concerning than I would expect, but I would so much rather be in this position of having an incredible record for our president to run on.
Excuse me, what? What's the record? I'm sure that reporter didn't ask what the record is. What's the record to run on? Inflation is continuing to go up. We're told we're going to have interest rates rising again. You got unions striking. They're going to put auto workers out of business with this green push for all electric vehicles. We got gas prices again on the rise. Where is the record of success? China is still sticking it to us. Okay? Nothing has changed in Ukraine. The Democrats are all hell-bent on that. Nothing's changed there. Where is the record of success? There is none. Well, joining me now is the publisher of National File and a campaign consultant, Noel Fritsch, is with us. Noel, welcome to the program.
Hey, honored to be here, Grant.
All right, Noel, did you chuckle like I did when you see President Trump up 10 points in the Washington Post?
Look, I think it's obvious to anybody paying attention, Grant, that this pants-pooping, hair-sniffing guy, who's now the commander-in-chief, I guess, is anywhere close to Donald Trump in the polls. And one of the big markers that you always hear these guys talk about is, well, is he at 50% or above, near 50% or nearing 50%? Well, he's way below 50%. Usually, whenever that happens, the establishment media will come out and say, wow, this guy's in trouble. And that's the first thing they say. They didn't say anything like that. So it leads me to believe that something else is going on here, Grant. For them to release this data, it tells me there's a plan here. It's very similar. If everyone will recall, back to 2019, they actually released that story about the hair sniffing thing about a year prior to that primary election, if you recall. And might argue that Hillary wanted it out, but they put it out a year ahead of time. I think they're doing something similar here. A lot of this is run by calendars, Grant, as you know, in the business, and they're trying to get out ahead of this thing. So maybe it'll go away so that by the time the next 3, 5, 6, 8 months come along and they have some more of these engineered indictments, whatever is going to happen in court with Donald Trump, they'll be able to say with some believability, well, Donald Trump's really in trouble and he closed that gap.
I think it may even be more devious than that. See, anybody with common sense, Noel, knows that President Trump's going to win. They could lock President Trump up. He's going to win this election. If they locked him up, it probably would be, he'd even go higher in the polls. So I've been calling that the Democrats are going to have to institute Operation Oust Joe Biden at some point. I would see signs of it happening, and then they back off it. And then there were signs that he's on the outs. Well, now we see that Gavin Newsom's going to show up at the Republican debate on behalf of the Biden campaign. Does the Biden campaign not understand they just invited the wolf into the hen house for this? Maybe all of this is to slowly say, hey, Joe, you got to step down, and they're setting somebody else up for this thing.
Right. I mean, so you got Gavin Newsom, who's heading up like the failed state of California. And then you got Michelle Big Mike Obama, on the other hand, that might be the heir apparent, fresh off of a scandal with a dead chef in Martha's Vineyard. And these are your choices for the Democrat Party. Not a very deep bench they have over there, right?
No, but I will say this. Do not underestimate Gavin Newsom. His state's a complete disaster. But the American people love good-looking dudes with nice hair. I don't know anything about that myself. My hair's not that great, but they love people like this. And he is smooth as silk. I don't know if you saw him with Sean Hannity, and now he's going to be debating, I guess, DeSantis in November. But he was smooth as silk with Hannity. And Michelle Obama, as much as I despise this woman, she's very popular with many in America.
No, you make a good point. And very similar to the way that they did away with Bernie in that last primary there, I think they're going to do away with anybody who might be an impediment to their power. And that might include Joe Biden here as we look at the next 6 or 7 or 8 months here, Grant. And look, all they have to do is be believable to the wine aunts and the fur baby mamas. And then they'll be able to say, well, look, the Democrat Party closed that gap, and it's part of their plan. Yeah. I think you're onto something. I think these are both of these talking points are two sides of the same coin.
All right. So because I like comedy on this show every now and then, I figured I'd try to make you laugh a little bit here. I want to run a clip from Democrat Congressman Jim Clyburn.
Is he the strongest candidate for 2024?
I think he is the strongest candidate, and I believe very strongly that the American people believe that as well.
Talked about Joe Biden. So, I mean, they'll say anything to the cameras, I guess.
It strains credulity, right? It's not believable in the least. And look, that's what they're on about. They're on about at some point they have to have a credible story. They know that, and they're planning for that. These are the most cynical people on the planet. Let's remind ourselves, these Democrats, these communists, they are totalitarians. They will do anything to hold on to power, Grant. And that's what we're watching. We're watching. I mean, they'll lie to you and tell you, obviously, that it's raining when it's obviously something different.
Isn't that the truth? Noel Fritch, I appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you, my man. Appreciate you.
Anytime. Thanks, Grant.
Absolutely. You want to talk about lying to you, telling you a story that's wacky. How about Eric Swalwell? He responded to these polls. Listen to this.
Nature abhors a vacuum. In a void, Republicans, will continue to tell lies about President Biden. And that's in part why I think his approval rating is as low as it is that they tell these lies. We don't punch back hard enough. We play on our side of the field rather than theirs. And then on the right-wing media ecosystem, it just reinforces those lies. And then they use the low poll numbers to justify why they're going to lean in even more.
Good news and bad news of this. I had no idea that the right-wing media, that's us, by the way, had this much power over Democrats and independents. So I'm very happy about that. The lies, where are we pushing these lies? It's the mainstream media that's backing Joe Biden up all the time. Come on, Eric Swalwell. Another Democrat out to lunch with a Chinese spy more often than not. All right, folks, Senator Bob Menendez, Democrat, says he's not stepping down after being indicted on bribery charges, even though he can't answer where all the gold bars came from. Who gave him the gold?
Semana para hacer exactamente eso. Thank you very much.
So that's Senator Menendez of New Jersey, a Democrat, being yelled at, where did all the gold come from? Well, he didn't answer where the gold came from. So apparently this is the second time now this senator has been indicted. Back in 2015, he was indicted on bribery charges. He escaped those because of a mistrial. Apparently the feds back in 2022 searched his home. Depending on what reporting you see, found anywhere between $480,000 and $600,000 in cash, including $70,000 in a bank deposit box that was under his wife's name. He had $100,000 in gold bars at his house, okay? This is all he's being accused of for bribery, apparently meddling in criminal cases and benefiting the Arab, where was this? The Arab Republic of Egypt, okay? Whatever. This is him explaining where the money came from, cut 3.
For 30 years, I have withdrawn thousands of dollars in cash from my personal savings account, which I have kept for emergencies and because of the history of my family facing confiscation in Cuba. Now, this may seem old-fashioned, but these were monies drawn from my personal savings account based on the income that I have lawfully derived over those 30 years.
All right, look, that should be very easy to prove. All you have to do is take your bank statements and show withdrawals that add up to $400,000, $600,000 over the years. Question is where the gold come from. Now, who am I to question buying gold? I'm the one who tells you to go to Birch Gold America to the number 989898. I don't know, maybe Menendez was calling them. But here's the deal. I don't know if there's anything wrong with having cash and gold on hand, all right? Yeah, it looks bad. I always think, when they go into the house and they pull out, he had 12 guns and 2,000 rounds of ammunition. What if they came to my house? It'd be the same thing. He had cash in the safe and they had ammunition and lots of guns. He looks like a criminal. I don't know. I don't trust the DOJ, but I don't trust Democrats. Is Bob Menendez capable of it? Probably. He sure looks like he's got a history of being capable of this stuff. But I don't know. The case they laid out was trying to help him and somebody in a criminal case. These 3 New Jersey businessmen and benefiting the Arab Republic of Egypt, but they didn't spell out a lot of details. I'm still on a wait and see mode. Even though he's a Democrat, it'd be easy to pile on here. I don't trust the DOJ. And I'm certainly not going to hammer anybody for collecting cash and gold during the times that we live in. Did you see this story about John Fetterman, the senator from Pennsylvania, who looks like an absolute clown in his athletic gear? Well, a reporter for the New York Post, John Levine, decided to go around New York City to some of the fanciest restaurants and see if he could get in dressed up like John Fetterman. Here's him talking about his little stunt.
The result was pretty consistent, that I got a nice stink face from the maitre d'. Can I help you? Whenever someone says, can I help you, you know it's bad. And then I said, I'm here to eat. I'd like to sit down. And I was generally politely told that I would not be welcome in the establishment and I should just leave without making a fuss. When I revealed myself as a New York Post reporter, some places said that they might make an exception for John Fetterman if he showed up because he's a U.S. senator, but not for me. So, different rules for different people, I guess.
Well, that's the way America goes. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I get a reservation where other people can't simply because I'm on TV. But listen, who wants to see Fetterman in his stupid outfits in a very nice restaurant? I certainly don't. And I don't want to see him in his stupid outfits in the United States Senate. So how did this actually go down? He actually took some video of him going into these establishments. These are like the fanciest restaurants in New York City. Daniel on the Upper East Side, La Bernardine. I don't even know if that's how you say it. And he said in this article, Bernardin served an amoosh boosh of stink eye. This is him at Daniel, I believe. Watch.
Your dress code?
Yes.
Would my sweatshirt be okay?
No.
No, you don't have a job.
Yeah.
So nothing I'm wearing is okay?
Yeah, just athletic wear and shorts.
Athletic wear and shorts, and you can just, if I sat in here, it'd be just crazy. Allow it.
Correct.
Do you ever line anyone with athletic wear and shorts in? There's a United States Senator that dresses like this.
Yes, he would not be permitted.
He would not be permitted here. You know what I'm talking about, John.
No, I don't, but we've turned away guests.
You've turned away.
Improperly dressed, regardless of their occupation.
So a United States Senator who looked like they couldn't get in.
Good. And here's a tip to all you Goombas out there. No hats either. You ever see that episode of The Sopranos? Tony Soprano goes over and tells one of the guys to take off his hat. No hats, no sweatshirts, no athletic shorts, no sneakers. If you're going to a place, I think $480 for a 7-course meal per person, folks, okay? I don't need sweatsuits there. I'm with them on that. And lastly, apparently Gavin Newsom is going to debate Ron DeSantis after all. November 30th, it's going to happen on Fox. Is this a last-ditch effort by the DeSantis campaign to try to somehow make themselves relevant? I don't know. By November 30th, Ron DeSantis may be out of the running for the office of the presidency. He may have to drop out. By then, we shall see. All right, folks. The Canadian government gave a standing ovation to a former Nazi. That's right. I'll tell you why next.
Here are some of the headlines we are featuring today from your favorite news outlets at offthepress.com. An FBI supervisor confirmed IRS whistleblowers' charges that the Department of Justice slow-walked the prosecution of President Biden's son Hunter, and that U.S. attorneys appointed by the president refused to bring charges against his son. A Washington Post ABC poll found that former President Donald Trump holds a 10-point lead over President Biden, reflecting voters' frustration with the economy and immigration, and concerns about Biden's age and mental state. Democrat Senator Robert Menendez doesn't seem embarrassed by his indictment Friday for corruption. In fact, Menendez is expected to announce Monday that he will run for re-election. And a major GOP donor has demanded a refund from Louisiana Republican gubernatorial candidate Jeff Landry after Landry hired Trump fixer Corey Lewandowski, who hit on the donor's wife 2 years ago. For stories like these and more updates all day long from your favorite news outlets, go to offthepress.com.
Folks, I want you to take a look at this video. This is Canadian Parliament giving a standing ovation to Yaroslav Hunka. Well, he's a Hunka Nazi is what he is. Apparently, he was fighting for Ukraine, so they give him a standing ovation during World War II, but it turns out he was a German Nazi in Ukraine fighting on behalf of the Nazis. But because he was in Ukraine, he's got to be great because everybody's insane for Ukraine, so they give him a standing ovation. People need to do their homework, okay? Nazis don't deserve standing ovations. But this is what you get in the Canadian Parliament, which is off-the-chain leftist. And I would not be surprised if the same thing would have happened in the United States Senate as well. That's going to do it for us, folks. I'm Grant Stinchfield. Thank you so much for watching. Stinchfield's Army Rolls. Thanks to all of you. Don't forget the podcast, GrantStinchfield.com. Pay that website a visit. I'd appreciate it. We'll see you back here tomorrow night.
Live from Studio 6B on a Monday, getting a new week started. Glad you're a part of the show. As always, we'll do some sports with Slick Rick Amorati sitting right there. Rick Delgado's got the news. Aaron and Fran holding it down on a Monday night. I feel like I've been away for a long time, but it's only been a couple days. I want to thank the guys for holding it down on Thursday and Friday.
Dude, you were gone for 5 days. 5.
Not 5.
Yes. Right? Because Monday was a holiday.
4 days, right?
What's today?
Today is Monday.
Oh, today's Monday.
Delgado.
What are you talking about, Delgado?
I sound like you now.
Go outside
I think
the
it's
parking
Tuesday.
lot, come back in, start over again.
It's Tuesday.
Let me talk to Slick